Women in Bitcoin is sponsored by BTCX, Sweden's first and most experienced Bitcoin exchange. Since 2011, we've helped Swedes buy and sell Bitcoin without the unnecessary hassle. We've stripped away all the noise. With us, you get a simple, safe and smooth way into the economy of the future, which, by the way, is already here. Head over to bt.cx and hop on the Bitcoin train today. Welcome to the 11th episode of our podcast, Women and Bitcoin. And this is a podcast that loves to crush the myth about Bitcoin being only for tech bros and day traders. So today we are beyond excited to welcome Suman Kumar, who really proves this point, and especially through your book, who we both have here. It's called Reclaiming Sovereignty: How I Fell in Love with Bitcoin by Suman Kumar. So I'm gonna be honest. I haven't quite finished it yet, so I'm in the middle of it. I'm a reader. I have always like 5 books going on at the same time. But I really, I can really tell a book from another when it's good writing, and I really love your language. It really pops out. It makes the people that you're writing about, they really pop out and they're alive. So I really appreciate reading it, and I want to take time reading it, not hurry it through. But so I'm gonna let you introduce a little more about yourself, who you are, a little about your background, and you are all the way. We're in Sweden, me and Honey, and you are from Canada. And where in Canada, may I ask?
Well, thank you, Rebecca, first for having me on. Rebecca and Hani, it's great to be here. I live in 2 places. My base is Toronto, so my Bitcoin community is here, and some of the members of the community are mentioned in the book. But I work in northern Quebec, so I work on a First Nations territory, and I'm here back in Toronto for vacation and the local launch of my book, so I'll be here for a little while.
All right. So I'm curious, how has how has your book been welcomed in the community, and maybe also outside the community?
It's been incredible. A lot of wonderful people have been very supportive. And I'm an indie writer, meaning I'm an independent, I'm self-published, I don't have a standing with the community. I was quite low-key up to when I published, because I was just busy writing and researching. And so I had 0 social media presence. So it's been incredible to see so many people come out and be excited, like the 2 of you. It's wonderful to be back with you both from that first meetup that I came to, the Stockholm meetup.
Yeah, the Le Femme Orange Stockholm.
Exactly, yes.
It was amazing.
Yeah. And so it's incredible to think that there are people all over the world who are picking up my book and reading it, interested in it. And so, yeah, but it does take time, to build a following, to basically get the word out about the book, right? So yeah. I'm really just, steadily working on that.
Yeah.
Getting it out to people.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're very happy that you are doing this journey. And you took you were writing it for 2 years.
Actually, almost half. So, and that was the entire process. So it includes the writing, revisions, editing, and research. I spent a year full time meeting people from all over the world. And that was my process, really. When you were asking me about, the book and how it came about, it was really my own discovery process. And if you read some of the book, it's very clear that I'm writing about my process and at the same time learning and meeting people through that process, and then writing about their lives and what got them interested in Bitcoin. How are they contributing to the community? Many are, many of the people profiled. So it was an incredibly rich experience. And challenging as well to sort of put together into a book form. And I do appreciate, Rebecca, your lovely comments that you like the writing. I'm not a writer. That's the funny thing is I'm not. I just thought, well, I'm going to try this. I'm going to just try writing because I'm actually a visual learner. I'm, involved in visual arts. I teach visual arts. I've been engaged in art for a while now. So it was a huge first for me.
Wow. But writing is an art form. So, yeah. So very interesting.
Yeah.
So you have a natural gift there.
Oh my God. I wouldn't call it a natural gift at all. It was a lot of hard work. What I'd like to say, look, if I can understand Bitcoin and I can write about it, anyone can understand Bitcoin and write about it. Because seriously, my daughter still complains about me, like, you don't even know how to use the TV remote, right? Like I'm writing about Bitcoin, this technology. So I'm not very, I'm tech challenged, you could say, but no, it was an incredible process. And it really, came out of my work and experience as a crypto trader. And that's how I first was introduced to the market. And I talk about that in the introduction.
Yeah. So as I believe, Bitcoin was not, correct me if I'm wrong, love at first sight. So you came from the broader crypto community, and then you heard about Bitcoin, and then tell us something about shifting from this crypto, being a crypto sister to becoming more focused on Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, I was very attracted to crypto because I saw the value in decentralized finance. I saw it as a way for me to be able to build a skill set as a trader where I could live independently, which is, of course, something that many of us want to do, is, build a business on our own. Like I see myself as a creative entrepreneur. So that's how I began. And I was seriously planning to just be a hardcore trader. And I got into it and I got training in it and I was trading. And then so many things began to happen that were, you could see the system was fraudulent, all kinds of cryptocurrencies were like, going to zero. And that really shook me up. It shook up the whole market. And I think a lot of people leave crypto because they're completely disillusioned by what it professes to offer people. So that's how I began. And it was only until I met Bitcoiners and I learned from them and I connected with them that I saw the true power and value of Bitcoin. And that's when the light bulb went off that this is something really, really serious and valuable and it's changing the world. And I just went right in. I went into a deep dive, like so many of us, right? We went into a deep dive and I thought to myself, well, I think I'm going to write about this. I think I'm going to write a story and I'm just going to write from my own perspective. And that was, when you want to write a book and then coming to the point of, what you're going to write about and how you're going to write about it is itself a process.
Yeah, indeed.
On that topic, I'm going to read a quote from your book at the end. It says, "Bitcoin it's not just a technology; it's all about us." Can you elaborate that a little bit more?
Oh yeah, I'd love to, because
thank you.
That's the whole premise of the book, which is really me coming at it from a social perspective. And if you read the Bitcoin Map 101 chapter, I talk about the 3 pillars of Bitcoin. So I talk about the technology, I talk about the financial utility and beyond, and then I talk about social participation. So for me, I chose to look at all of these pillars, but from the perspective of people. Because I see it's people who are fueling the movement. It's a social movement. It's not just a technology. It's just not just about, a new economic system, which is, core principle of why we have Bitcoin and acquire it and want to learn about it. But through the stories of people, I'm sharing the importance and core features of Bitcoin as a social movement. So that's what I mean by it's us. We're fueling it. We're the ones who are basically like a wildfire taking it across the world.
Yeah.
And if we are the fuel, and if you focus on the woman, what is your advice? How can we fuel it even more?
I think that is a question we all ask ourselves, right, as Bitcoiners. And one thing I've recognized through reading and meeting people is that everyone has their own triggers, right? And they're different for everyone. And we all understand that Bitcoin's utility is very diverse. So, people use it in different ways. I chose to share Bitcoin as a living system that's useful through stories and narratives of people. And that's how I would like the book to be introduced to newcomers. Like the book is designed for newcomers and for Bitcoiners as well, but it is specifically designed for people to make it relatable. So I think making Bitcoin relatable, is a great way for people to sort of feel less intimidated, right? Because the tech can be very intimidating. The economics can be intimidating. But if you say, oh, here's a story about a 17-year-old and why she's interested in Bitcoin, and here's her story, that might be a lot more palatable, where people are like, okay, well, if a 17-year-old can navigate Bitcoin and being a teenager and dealing with life, maybe I can too, right? Like that's one of my, paraphrase from the book. So that was the whole point of this, was to show people, well, what is Bitcoin doing for me? What is it doing for all of these people? What could it potentially do for me? So that was, I feel, an interesting and different way of approaching the subject.
Yeah, I think it's genius. I don't think that there's another Bitcoin book addressing it from the people behind it, like the storytelling. And I think, generalizing a little, I think this connects to women more. I mean, it's not. You can't really say like, well, I'm not interested in people, so I'm not gonna read this book. But you can say I'm not interested in tech or in financial structures like that. It's very easy for people to look to like just, no, I'm not interested in finance. But everyone is interested in people, right? Or most of us, maybe.
Rebecca, that's a really great point. I never thought of that. It's true. Like, so that was the whole thinking behind it. And that's why I coined the term the humanity of Bitcoin. So it's about the people behind Bitcoin. And I feel that the community needs a book like this. And there are other books that touch on other aspects of Bitcoin. I'm not the first, but I don't believe there is a book that has collected stories of people.
Yeah.
Right. I think that is a first.
Yeah. I was really moved about this teenager because that's the starter chapter, right?
Yes.
This teenage girl.
She opened the book.
Yeah. She's amazing. And I also want to have time to ask you, as a Canadian writer and inhabitant, I don't know how you say, you also, there's also a chapter about this couple who was involved in the trucker Freedom Convoy. Do I say that right now?
Yes. Yeah.
So for many of our listeners, maybe some are new to what happened in 2000 during the pandemic. I think a lot of people have heard about the trucker Freedom Convoy, but not how it is connected to Bitcoin and why this event is so important for the Bitcoin community. So would you like to tell us why you picked this chapter to write about and what it means to you as a Canadian?
Well, I think it was very powerful what happened, and I'm sure you've seen that it was replicated all over the world, even in Europe, right?
Yeah, it was
incredible.
Yeah,
It was really incredible, and for me as a, advocate for freedom, I was so impressed with the level of organization and the sheer creativity behind it, as a way of people, everyday people voicing their discontent, right? And you wouldn't believe the news coverage, the number of, like, the millions of people in Canada who supported this convoy, right? Forget about the subject, right? People, it wasn't just about, it was about their right to freedom, right? Like, they're saying, we have a right here. You can't force us to do something against our will. People were so supportive all over the world. And it was amazing because what they did was, as the convoy was moving across the country, people were there, like, waiting for the convoy to pass. And there were thousands of people, cheering them on. It was just incredible. And for Bitcoin, it really, it was like, it blew up. Like, it really blew up because, as Mark mentioned, the guy that I interviewed, right, the Bitcoiner,
Yeah.
it was, they froze bank accounts. They stole the money that was donated. Like, it's horrendous, right? It was horrendous.
Yeah.
And it was a really bold move, but it was a really strategically wrong move for the government, because what it did, it showed people their power, right?
Yeah.
And that was the shocking thing, because it never happened before in the history of our country that people's bank accounts were suspended. Right?
No.
Like, no, I don't think anyone ever thought that it was even possible. Like, I wrote that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, who ever thought? Like, you sure, we understand, someone's under investigation, that their accounts are going to be frozen, they're involved in criminal activity. Like, some poor working class, family donates $25 of their hard-earned, taxed money, and their accounts being frozen. Like, that's ridiculous. But they can do it. They have the power. And then the second part to that which was that the only funds that were not frozen were Bitcoin funds. So that became a huge example for the community of just see the power of decentralized money, right?
Yeah.
They just held on to that, and they use it all the time. All the time in conferences, we talk about this, how it's not, can't confiscate it, right? Can't steal it. You can't take it away from someone. It's yours. So this was the huge thing about the Freedom Convoy. Mark and Russell, the couple who I talk about, they've been with me since the beginning, literally. Really, like, I have a very soft corner for them. Like, they're dear friends of mine. And they were unexpectedly part of the book because, they've been supporting it. We've been talking about it. The people that you have in your circle that you bounce ideas off of, right? We all have them, right?
Yeah.
So they were a couple who I was bouncing ideas off of around the book, and when I first got started. But when they told me that they were moving to Bitcoin Island, in the Philippines, I said, I really want to share your story because it was so powerful. And there were so many dimensions about it, right? Like, it was about the convoy. It was about how they were directly impacted by mandates, by, government mandates, and then how they were creating political freedom for themselves. So this was a story about political freedom. And that they followed their dream, which is so relatable for anyone, whatever that dream is, right? It's about going for it, and they did. So that chapter is so powerful, like, every chapter is so different. So
yeah, they are. And I also have to comment a little on it, because we're in Sweden, we it's I might get some shit for this, but we have like a self, we're looking at ourselves like we're a little outside the world, because we're like in a corner of the world, and our laws are, we're a little, like, for instance, when the pandemic hit the world, the Swedes were like, no, it's not going to hit us. I can still go to Italy. I can still, they were like, no, this is not going to affect us. And I think it's the same with Bitcoin. It's like, okay, the rest of the world might need it, and they can freeze bank accounts in these areas, but not in our country, because we're so, we can really trust our state and the laws, and they always have the good for us, always. But we relate to Canada because somehow it's like your community is relatable to ours, and when we meet Canadians, we feel there's a lot of things in common, and the way of standards and economy and stuff, and so I think this also shows Swedes or woke people up, like, okay, so this can actually happen in a democratic, free country like Sweden also. So yeah, it is a very powerful situation that really woke up a lot of people.
No, for sure. I think that, like I was saying, we don't think about it, right? Just like you said, we don't think about it, and that was a very extreme moment in our history, right? One moment, but as we all know, there are countries all over the world where it's a everyday occurrence, where they could need to flee their country, right? They may have issues. They do have issues with corrupt government officials, corrupt banking officials. The system is not reliable, right? And so imagine for those people who may learn about Bitcoin, how much safer and secure they're going to feel, knowing that I have money that, some guy with a gun can't just take off of me,
Yeah. That's I mean, when you actually think, like, grasp the totality of it, it's mind blowing.
Yes.
But you have to start asking questions about what money is in order to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we human when we are in the comfortable zone, we don't think about the risk. But once we are in those situations, then we react. So that's, I think it's all about the human psychology. And as Rebecca and you mentioned, we are living in a world where we have everything what we need. We have we are so comfortable. We have a bank account, we have water, we have shields. Also, we have more than what we expect. But Canada is a reminder that we can also end up the same situation that Canada, that somebody can freeze our bank account, and the option would be yes, Bitcoin. So it's a reminder for everyone out there who listener that there is a solution. A solution is Bitcoin.
Yes, indeed.
I'm gonna read a citation from your book, and it was actually it says that the difficult. Sorry, I'm just gonna read again. Even after my research, the incredible conversation that shaped this book, when people ask me to explain Bitcoin, a part of me still finds it challenging. The difficult isn't it's Bitcoin itself. It's the foundation of knowledge. It's the most of lacking how the financial system works. What do you want to give to the listener this specific chapter 8? What was your mission, or what was your what can I say? What do you want to reach out there to the people who is reading this book?
Yeah, so first the quote and the question. So the question, I think, is something we all face as Bitcoiners, which is, and I say this over and over again, how can we explain the value of Bitcoin because it's replacing something when people don't understand what it's replacing, right? Mm. So this is the whole point, because most of us have a very, not Bitcoiners, but how do people understand the financial system and how it works, right? And so the point of the book was to make people curious, to inspire them to want to learn about the system. right? To understand it, what we call financial literacy. Because as we know, any training program on Bitcoin always includes a component around financial literacy. So that's the first part, is to inspire curiosity. The second part, which is completely connected, was to inspire curiosity of how can I, as a reader, reimagine my life with Bitcoin, reimagine my sense of sovereignty, because I think people do feel very insecure. People feel very insecure with the financial system that we live under. Like, where's our savings going, right? We know that with inflation, there's hardly anything that can be saved. And so when you mentioned, honey, about people begin to look at Bitcoin, or they begin to move when they're uncomfortable, I think that's very key as well, especially in the West, where people have supposedly comfortable lives. That can change very quickly. The sense of comfort that people have, as we know, can be lost in a millisecond with simply a change in interest rates, right? Interest rates go up 2 points, all of a sudden you can't afford your mortgage. Like, what does that tell us? It's like people are living on a tightrope, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things we always talk about as Bitcoiners is everyone's not going to make it. It's going to be too late at some point. And so, in any situation where we are faced with making a change is uncomfortable. Any dimension of your life, right? We know this, we understand this. A new job, learning how to do something different, a new relationship, because our nervous systems are so comfortable in their routine. That's normal, right? Routine is comfortable. Now, routine is not a bad thing, but if you want to shift and move your life in a new direction, it's going to be uncomfortable. Sometimes we're forced to, but sometimes we take it upon ourselves to take the initiative. Like, for instance, Mark and Roussel. They made an uncomfortable decision, right? They decided to move. But when you go through that baptism of fire, you could call it, of discomfort, there's a lot of reward at the end, right?
Yeah.
Atop of those, you said that people don't want to change because they're very uncomfortable. So what was your situation uncomfortable that you changed? Because you did a shift. Writing a book, take the risk, give the time. So can you explain about what was your uncomfortable situation that you said, now I have to change? This is too comfortable.
Well, the thing was, for me, was I was forced into an uncomfortable situation because I was facing the realities of DeFi. It was falling apart. And so I was already really questioning it, I'd stopped trading completely because, it was getting too risky for me, because the volatility was crazy, with investors coming in and then getting out, and then, coin going down, in value. But I wanted to do something because I wanted to write something because I wanted to share the value of DeFi. Like in terms of cryptocurrencies, but I didn't know exactly how, right? Then I got into Bitcoin because I wanted to share, this is what it's all about. Like, people should understand it. There's something there valuable to understand. Then I met Bitcoiners, and it was through relating to them. I said, this is it. This is exactly what I want to be. I want to be a Bitcoiner. I want to learn about Bitcoin, and I want to share about it, because this is the true path. This is the path to freedom. This is the piece, and I talk about that in the book, in the introduction. It was like I had the pieces, but they weren't all fitting together, because, it's like your gut telling you there's something here that is worthy, it's not like I'm going to walk away, because people do, right? Some people, they've been so wrecked by crypto that they walk away completely. They're like, I can't deal with this. But then they miss out. Right? They miss out on Bitcoin, because if you understand the technology, it is incredibly valuable, transformative, and it is, in my mind, the new iteration of money, right? But we have to understand it, right? You have to take the time to understand it. And that's what I'm attempted to do through this journey of meeting all these people in the ecosystem.
I have to comment also, because you're saying that you said that you felt in your gut that this was it. This feels like this was where you fell in love. Like this is part of the title, and so I think the title is really beautiful. And I wanted to comment on reclaiming sovereignty, but I have to comment first. Like, there was a part in this first chapter. What is the 17-year-old girl's name? So
Elle.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So this really landed hard in me. Like, she felt that something was wrong. Like I mean, like you say, it's hard. It's getting harder and harder for people to get by, to have enough money, to have enough time. There's stress. It's affecting all areas of the life, all relationships, at work, and health problems and everything. And what I see when I sit, when I go into town, when I sit on a bus, everyone, especially young people, they're always like hooked up. They're listening to music. They're listening. They're even when they're sitting in a big group together, everyone is on their phone. And so, and I think you have a sentence or two sentences about this. Like, they're blocking out, all this discomfort of what inflation is doing. And what Elle is doing, she's taking the other path. She's, what can I do? Okay, and then she had the luxury of finding Bitcoin. But this really got to me. Like, I think we're all kind of blocking out, all the discomfort and discomforts of the world that is happening. We're afraid. There's a lot of worry, and instead of study Bitcoin or study financial systems, we just put on another Netflix series or stuff ourselves with the things.
Yeah, like it was a very powerful interview, a series of interviews, and she very clearly, pinpointed some of the really major challenges that young people are facing. And she talks about this, like, this is from her saying that people use technology as a distraction.
Exactly.
Well, we all do, right? We all do. And
yes,
we need the times, but like, it's true. Like, it's still valid today, the idea of bread and circuses, right? The circus is the distraction and the bread is the consumption, right? We live in a culture. It's a consumptive culture. We consume and we are distracted, and that's a way that the system is keeping us from our power, from actually aware. And you could use this and apply it to any personal situation, right? Not just financial, right? So it is huge. It is huge. And she's so articulate and like so emotionally mature. There's the intelligence that she brings to the conversation was phenomenal. Really just
wow.
Yes. And she was like, she's privileged in that she has Bitcoiner parents, right? Yeah. But that's not just it. You could have Bitcoiner parents and still not be interested in Bitcoin. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. You can go the other way. Where
being honest, like I wrote a book about Bitcoin. My kid's not into Bitcoin. And you know what? I can guess that. Okay, I can't help it. Like, I can only do so much, right? So, but she's aware. Like I try and I try and convey fiscal responsibility to her. In other ways, she's not a Bitcoiner, but she's aware. Me how to use it and stuff. But that is spent.
She'll come around.
She is. She's going to be introducing me at the launch party here. So and she's reading the book. Okay.
Wow.
Really, she's in her last year of high school, so she's really got a lot going on right now.
Yeah, of course.
I agree that discomfort. We're comfortable until we're uncomfortable, right? We're comfortable until we're uncomfortable. And so I was really, really uncomfortable, getting back to discomfort, honey, with the state of DeFi. And despite having read a little bit about Bitcoin and understanding it to some degree, it wasn't until I connected at the heart level, like I really connected with people. And that was my trigger, was because I was trained as a sociologist. So, I really to people and social movements. Like I see all that. Like I understand, like I'm that's something that comes naturally to me. When I saw how connected people are to Bitcoin and the kind of impact it's having around the world, I knew this was huge and it was special. And I chose to sort of dive in and learn and, just discover it for myself. And I did fall in love, like truly,
Wow.
all the dimensions of Bitcoin and the movement itself, because that's the humanity. Like that is why if we look at how people, engage and converse, of course, we need to understand all the technical dimensions of it, but there is such a humanity behind it, behind why people are embracing it, right? It's because they believe in themselves. They want a better life for themselves. They want to live more authentically. They want to live in a more connected way, because it's about empowerment, right? Being in charge of your money, doing more with it, being more in control. So yes, it was a huge experience. It was very, very special. And I'll just mention here now, I'll just drop this, that, well, my next book is already now getting done, working it through a little bit. And I am going to be starting my next book over the summer. I'll be making
it's going to be about Ethereum or?
Yeah, you wish. No way. No way. No, it's going to be along the same lines of this book. It's a surprise. I'm not going to give it away, but it's along the same lines of the humanity of Bitcoin. And it is something completely different that's never been done before. So it's coming next month. I'm going to be dropping an announcement, and then I'll formally start getting into it over the summer. And but I'm really excited about it, that I'm going to continue with writing. Something I never expected. Like, see, this is just it. Like when you start something, you don't know where it's going to take you. No. And I never thought I would, get deeper involved in writing, but I am going to write this book. It's crazy. I have the most wonderful thing that happened actually was someone came up to me, a Bitcoiner, and asked me to write a book about a particular subject. And I took that as a huge compliment.
Yeah.
Because they'd read my book and they said, oh, why don't you write about this? I'm like, wow, okay. You think of me as someone who could write such a book. And maybe I will, I don't know. But I've got a couple of ideas in mind. So yeah, that's coming. So this particular lens, you could say, I'm going to keep working this lens. I'm going to keep, presenting material around the social, movement of Bitcoin as the social.
Wow. Amazing, Suman, amazing. One of the things that struck me on this book is that you actually dedicate this book to your daughter, I think. It says, to my daughter, the sound of your laughter reminds me of what it means to be alive. So this book is kind of not just how I fell in love with Bitcoin, but also a life learning journey with your daughter, in a sense.
Yeah, well, the dedication was for her, and it was just, I guess you could say, she's such a big part of my life. So, and I think all of us, and this is a huge subject we can get into today, is that as women, we are so concerned about our families. Men are too, of course, but as women, I think that you want your children to thrive, right? You want your children to thrive in all ways, like, financially, emotionally, professionally. And so for me, yes, this is definitely something that's important, that what kind of life is she going to build for herself? right? What are the tools is she going to have to build that life? What are the kind of obstacles is she facing, like Elle talks about, like it's financially not feasible these days for any young person entering the job market to think of owning a home. Real estate prices have skyrocketed. So yeah, she's a part of my life. And so it was something special for her. Yes.
For sure. I have the final question, which is, it's very, very interesting. It's actually the chapter 7. The reason I'm bringing up this chapter is because we had Rachel Gere, the queen of Bitcoin mining. I don't know if you have read about, she actually, we had her as a guest, the episode 10. And she was talking a lot about Bitcoin mining. The Bitcoin miner chapter was unplanned chapter, but it was one of the lengthiest chapter. But you were talking about the myth and versus the reality.
Yes.
So what was the myth and what was the reality, and how was the journey to finding out those difference?
Yeah. Okay. So, this is the most technical chapter in the book.
Yeah.
Apart from the, roadmap. And yet I felt it was so important to share and debunk the myths around mining because, mainstream media or legacy media, if you want to call it that, it's filled with disinformation around mining. And I think that what I realized was because I was someone who didn't have very much knowledge about mining. So I was in the mainstream, I was a newcomer. And while, Bitcoiners understand what's happening in mining to some degree, I think for sure. And, many people it's really trending right now, mining. It was shocking. It was just shocking to learn of how mining is now converging with the energy sector in a very, very transformative way. We are seeing a paradigm shift. And, I can't get into the whole thing right now because that would take like 15 minutes. But ultimately, what people don't know about is that energy is being manipulated in new ways because of mining. Because of mining's infrastructure and how mining can change the energy flow that is required. So we're basically manipulating electrons in new ways. That's a kind of simple way to say it. And so because of that, there's all this activity going on at, government levels, business levels, within the energy sector, where people are recognizing how mining is changing the relationship that we have with energy. It's creating all of these use case scenarios that did not exist before. So we can talk about flared gas and how they're capturing that pollution before it reaches the atmosphere and turning it into energy. Like, how cool is that, right? Like, my God. This is an international conversation that's been going on for decades about how do we mitigate, methane, right? How do we mitigate all this pollution that's going in, getting into the atmosphere? And here we have a solution that is far less expensive than any of the other options that have been available to us that, are possible. So this is why I decided I'm going to go right in. And then another reason why it became so big was that I met someone who is involved with the oil and gas industry and doing it. So directly from the horse's mouth, like directly from someone who's there on the ground doing this work, what greater testimonial is that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a statistic. I'm not giving data. I'm talking to someone who's doing this. And it's so powerful because people are engaged in Bitcoin and embracing it and involved in so many different ways. But what's so beautiful is when you meet someone who was involved in oil and gas and now has completely shifted into Bitcoin, but still in oil and gas. They're so drawn to the power of what Bitcoin can do that they have shifted gears.
Yeah.
Like Simon Raven is the man from Alberta, and he opened his own company to do this, to create, to partner with companies and create, build up mining infrastructure for flared gas shut-ins, right? So this is really huge, and I thought super interesting for years.
Amazing. If you're really interested about this book, please don't forget read the chapter 7. It's deep time, more what we have time today, but buy the book, read it.
Yeah, you can't miss it. So to try and sum this episode up, I have one question. I don't know if it's a quick question. We can try.
Yeah, time.
For those who are listening, the title of the book is called Reclaiming Sovereignty. So for the women and men who are listening to this show, how can we reclaim sovereignty in our everyday life? Like,
it's a huge question.
I know. I'm sorry.
No. I think it's such an important question that I feel all of us are asking ourselves all the time. And I feel there's so many dimensions to it. Like there's so many. Like I mentioned this when I launched the book on the reserve, on the territory. There are so many dimensions to sovereignty, right? Personal sovereignty, emotional sovereignty, professional, like how comfortable we'll be in our jobs. I think where Bitcoin comes in is it is changing the relationship that we have with money, right? And because money is a primary relationship that we all have. We have a relationship with our money. But how limited is that relationship? Because of we have a third party involved, right? We have a bank, an institution. And what is the value of that money? How is it going? What value will it hold in 5 years, 2 years, 10 years? So if we want to embrace another kind of money that we all believe has far more potential to retain its value and increase in value, then it's worth exploring, reimagining that kind of sovereignty, which is your relationship with it. And what is that going to do? It's going to create more wealth, right? Sovereignty is about wealth. One dimension of it, which is what can we do with our lives? If you have a stronger bottom line financially, you can do more with your life, right?
Yeah.
And I believe, we have to keep in mind that for a lot of people, sovereignty is about survival. What is the quality of people's survival in the global south, right? So that question is very loaded, and it can mean different things for different people around the world.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, I'm working with the band council where I live, on the territory where I live. And we are now beginning a training initiative on Bitcoin. So it's huge because this is a community that has fought for sovereignty, right? They had to struggle to imagine just be able to have the freedom to have their children live with them. They had to fight for the sovereignty of their language, their culture, their resources, their land. So now they're looking at exploring, okay, how do we hold on to our resources, right? Through Bitcoin. So, it's huge. It's
yes.
And I'll just share, because I'm going to drop this soon, but they're going to be using my book as a bridge to learning about Bitcoin. So as part of their training initiative. So which is
congratulations.
Thank you. It's the first educational initiative that has, asked for my book. And it's also connected to that fact that they know me. And I think that it will help them in that process, in their journey of understanding Bitcoin, because it's a lot softer, right? So it's a softer way to communicate Bitcoin through the stories. So I think it's a huge question. And why it's important? Because I believe that we can never stop growing our sense of sovereignty, because ultimately I am someone who believes that sovereignty is a very internal process, right? It's an internal relationship with oneself.
Yeah.
So having a relationship with Bitcoin is one dimension of that sovereignty, right? Very, very important and fundamental. But to take it to that spiritual or emotional, personal level, like I believe it's a question that we're asking ourselves all the time. So our personal, and so, but what's so incredible about it is that I believe that having that financial sense of security through Bitcoin, it nurtures and cultivates personal emotional sovereignty, right?
Yeah.
And I mentioned in the book that you can kind of sleep better at night. Like, wow, I'm not worried, right? And what does that do to your nervous system? It just calms you down, makes you feel comfortable and happy. And that's why, a podcaster said to you, that's why Bitcoiners are so happy, because they're comfortable with their lives. They know where they're going, right? That's a huge thing, because we all talk about, there was so much uncertainty. There was just so much uncertainty. And I think we can, there's a macro level uncertainty, and then there could be a micro level uncertainty at the grassroots level. So people are dealing with different kinds of uncertainty all the time.
Yeah.
So I hope.
Thank you. That was a very good answer. A pretty short one too, actually, for comparing to the size of the question. So I really want to. We're going to sum this up, I'm afraid. We're going to have another episode when you released your next project.
Thank you. I and put any time limit on it. Like, I don't know what it's going to be, because the last time I tried to do that, it did not work out well. So
okay.
Slow, it's a very kind of organic process, and I won't know until I'm in it and see how it goes. So
but it's very inspiring.
As long as it's a peaceful sovereignty, then that will be fine.
Yes. So, and I really want to say to all our listeners to start, if you not already have a book club, start one and get together, like a few women or men if they want, if you want to invite men also, and read the book and drink some wine and talk about this really, really important topic of reclaiming your own sovereignty and reimagining your life. I think this is a very beautiful way putting it that you're using in your book. And Suman, will we be able to hear you on a Bitcoin conference or a get together, or how can one meet you?
Oh my God, thank you. I don't know what the schedule has in store for me.
Okay.
It's kind of there are challenges that I have getting to conferences because of
yes.
I live in a remote community, and so but I've had some invitations which have been incredible, and nothing is confirmed as yet. But of course, I would love to meet both of you in person one day. It would be great. And I want to just say thank you so much for having me on. It's a real honor. And if you might, of course, you remember how a few weeks ago you shared with me that you put me into your newsletter, my book, and that was such a huge compliment to my book, to my writing, and I appreciate exposing it to your readers. But right now, at the moment, I'm just getting sort of sharing the book, talking to people, and enjoying this moment of completing it, crossing the finish.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Suman, for joining us and sharing your story today. For anyone ready to drop the old idea that Bitcoin is just tech and code, this book is definitely for you, or gifted to someone curious. You can find Reclaiming Sovereignty, How I Fell in Love with Bitcoin, on Amazon, and we will link it in the comments to this episode. And make sure to follow Suman on X. It's Keys to Freedom with a capital S and K. All the best to you, Suman, and we can't wait to see what's next.